Started 3 years ago. We realized we got some of the best chiropractors in the world in this room. We got to do UAC Chiropractor of the Year, and Ken was our first Chiropractor of the Year.
Hey everyone, Dr. Brian here with the UAC Best Practices Podcast. We have a great guest today, Dr. Ken Cooper. Been a longtime UAC member, and even the Chiropractor of the Year at UAC at one point. And I'm also here with my co-host, Dr. Alan Miner. So Doc, why don't you take it away?
Yeah, Ken is, what makes UAC so cool is you get all kinds of different genius. And, there's a lot of people tend to talk about maybe the numbers and those people in the room who are doing tens and 20s and hundreds of millions of dollars. But then there's a lot of other people in the room like Ken who just have this clinical genius about them that I don't know how many people from UAC go to the doctors in UAC for us, for our families, for wisdom. And Ken has that practice. He's been in practice for 34 years outside of Disneyland in LA and Fullerton. Been in UAC for a decade. Back when Patrick was chairing it, he held a Better Your Best contest that Ken in his office won, and we all got a glimpse into this baseball-themed Cooperstown practice that he has. And we started 3 years ago. We realized we got some of the best chiropractors in the world in this room. We got to do UAC Chiropractor of the Year, and Ken was our first Chiropractor of the Year. So just trying to set the stage for Ken knows a lot. He's a genius, but more importantly, he's got just one of those hearts that just gives and is evident by his practice and the impact he's had on his community. But before we get into your best practice, Ken, that people can apply, I stopped our conversation because Brian was like, oh man, I got to get some of these wired phones, and we were talking about EMF meters and where were you going with that? So Ken, you've got an EMF meter that you use on the wireless ones?
Absolutely. So, an EMF meter, you can buy one on Amazon at like $20. But what you can do is you can actually take the EMF meter and put it next to the AirPod, and you can see if it's actually putting off radiation.
Does it?
Like most of them do. There are some that don't. The better.
And you do this for your patients or just your own personal insight?
Everybody that walks in with an
that's the best practice, right alone, right there. Like, hey, let's
walk
check you
up and I tell them I just want to do something, and I show them. And what I do is, if you hold that meter over like an outlet that you plug appliances into, you'll see how much radiation puts out. So you'll see it'll turn red, and those numbers will start skyrocketing. And then when you put it next to a person's ear, that's where one of the wireless headphones, it'll do that same thing. The crazy part. And so then, immediately we're instructed like, okay, you got to get rid of those. We got to go to a wire. Just not worth you, frying your brain.
And these are in fact lower when we have a wire.
There's zero.
Interesting.
Yeah, there was zero. So that's what's cool, and that's why I'm using the Beats. Great sound quality, and they're easy to use.
And you got an inside connection to Beats.
And I got an inside.
Your little birdie told me that. So.
Exactly. So the other day I was doing this, and I had a lady here, and she's like, hey, would you mind doing that over my hearing aid? I was like, well, I've never done that before, but let's check it out. And I did it. Oh my God. It went off the chart. It was like worse than some of those earpods. And so, then we were having that conversation that, there's really cheap ones and there's really good ones. So I've been just keeping my eye on anybody walking in the store with either of those devices, either a hearing aid or earpods, and just testing them and just giving recommendations based on that.
Do you think I've got earpods I've got one of those EMF wraps. I've got a little EMF wrap on it. Do you think that really helps?
I do.
I'm curious. I
do, but I would still put the meter
measure
on.
it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's too easy. You order it and get it tomorrow.
I've also heard like the battery powered cars are really high inside.
Yeah. Yeah. That's the truth as well.
Yep. Well, that's not what we meant to talk about, but they say like you send a Tesla and the thing goes off. It's like you're sitting on a phone, basically.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh my God, I never thought of it.
So Ken, that's already might be the best practice of the day is just using
a unique one.
We
I
love
got another one for you that I want to.
It's a great new patient generator.
Really,
you should just go up to people like in the restaurants and
Yeah.
Just at the mall, just like, ah.
They're everywhere. Everywhere.
What else? Get fire away,
Sorry.
Ken. What else you got?
Well, so you guys know that my specialty is concussion. So
Yeah.
you know, my doctorate's in chiropractic. I have a advanced degree in pediatrics. I have one in functional medicine. My kind of geek out is neuroscience. But you know, in all of this, we've learned a lot about treating a lot of different conditions. So people will come to our clinic with all sorts of different things, and all of these, you know, really miraculous things, will, you know, and had highlighted even on, you know, broadcast TV. I mean, yeah, it's still legacy media, but I mean, how often do you see something positive for like 4 or 5 minutes on like regular channel TV news? But the one thing that we discovered, and I discovered, and I wasn't the only one, a lot of people have, had to do with treating people, helping people that are battling the battle of cancer.
Yeah.
And I discovered a long while ago, I was contacted in the year 2000 by the National Institute of Health. And they said, you know what, we're seeing all these people reporting that they're recovering from cancer doing your program. And, you know, cancer is a terrible thing. And we want to get rid of it. And we're going to, you know, have a sign that says stand up to cancer at the All-Star game and all of that stuff. And they said, you know, we want to ask you to give us like a rundown of your protocol. So it took me about 18 months to actually put all of the data together.
Wow.
And about what we're doing and how, you know, I've been so successful with this. And at the moment that we got it done and I turned it in, I realized they had no intention in studying cancer and getting rid of cancer. That really wasn't their agenda. Their agenda was to make sure I wasn't doing anything illegal. Yeah. But it was interesting because my own mother, I mean, I was just furious, and I hung up the phone, and then it rang again. It was my mom. And my mom says, you know, if your mom ever calls and she says, are you sitting down? You know, that's always...
That's not good.
No. So she said, you know, that little tumor I had on my cheekbone, well, it became malignant. And I said, I knew at that moment why I spent so much time in this program. And I said, listen, I'm going to put you through my cancer program. I'm not going to give you any days off because you're my mom. I'm going to be just as hard as you as I'm going to be on anybody else. And it took 18 months. And in 18 months, her tumor was completely gone. And the crazy part was she asked her oncologist. Their oncologist goes, Nancy, because that was amazing. I've never seen this happen before. I'm so proud of you. And she goes, do you want me to tell you how I did it? He's like, no, I don't want to know. And she goes, this is my mom, you know, 87, but she's a tough chick. She goes, so doc, where did you go to school? And he told her whatever university. She goes, do they have a money back guarantee? Because you really need to go get your money back. That's what she told her. So I discovered in this process that, you know, when a person's battling cancer, there's a lot of fear and there's an enormous amount of anger. But anger and fear create more cancer. So until you can separate those two things, it's a very difficult battle to win. So years ago, I had this lady that was here, and she was battling non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. So it was pretty much spread everywhere. And so we did this work. It's very intuitive. It takes about an hour. As a matter of fact, I did it on Dr. Ron, my accountability partner from Michigan, when he had a little cancer spare, Ron House. And yeah, that was gone. Anyways, so we did this work, and we discovered that really quickly that the anger that she had was she had this adult son that she had like no communication with. 5 years, they haven't spoken a word. And he had just gotten married, and she wasn't even invited, and they lived like in the same town. So I cleared her on it. I cleared all the garbage. I used a neuro-emotional technique. So you guys might be familiar with BEST. I've modified BEST to fit me, but like there's also NET and network, Donnie Epstein's work, all of that kind of stuff, Joe Dispenza's work. So I kind of put it all together into a nice form. But anyways, I clear all of this garbage in her head, right? We get done. She goes out in the car, starts driving home. Guess who calls her on her way home?
Oh,
no way.
Or her son. And now that she's clear on her aspect of this relationship, she can have like a motherly, loving conversation. They go out to lunch together. They repair the relationship. But lo and behold, in like 2 weeks, guess what happens? Her oncologist, give her a little report. You are now cancer-free. That was like, about 22 years ago. Monday, not this past Monday, two weeks ago on Monday, we had a younger lady, married, mother, probably early 30s. Similar battle, Hodgkin's lymphoma, and really in a battle. So we put her through chiropractic, and we got to turn the power on. There's no way you're going to win that battle without, life being turned on. We did functional nutrition to identify the toxicity and deficiency, but I did this neuro-emotional release with her. I did it on Monday. And the thing that I explained to her was, you created this problem, you can recreate this problem, right? It's just that easy. You just got to decide. And all of these things that are in your subconscious mind that are triggers from all the things that happened in your past are what's keeping you from getting done what you need to get done.
Yeah.
So how do you get to the? Sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I'll just tell you the story. So I cleared her on Monday. On Friday, she was here getting adjusted. She was with one of my associates, and she goes, "Oh, I have news for you." And I said, "What's that?" She goes, "I was told this morning that I'm now cancer-free." It took her 3 days.
Wow.
It took her 3 days. That's the power of the innate intelligence. That's what we discovered. That's why, like, part of our concussion protocol is, people that have a concussion, have a head injury, man, depression is one of the hugest issues. Terrible issue. And this is how we resolve this.
So Ken, I have a question. We're recording this in the middle of November.
Yeah.
So, we've got this huge change in the country coming.
Yeah.
Front and center in the Wall Street Journal is this article today about the two siblings behind RFK Jr. and Make America Healthy Again, Kaylee and Casey Means. And, for 20 years, we've been on radio waves talking about the conspiracy of all of this, of, how can you indemnify these vaccine companies so that they have no responsibility? How can, the spiking of vaccines coming out at the times that diseases naturally spiked, the issues we've all seen as chiropractors when you have a child who had an adverse reaction, the parents bring him to us and you got the medical doctor denying what we just saw happen. So all of a sudden, this world is I bring that up because this conversation is something that, we're not supposed to talk about. And is for, how many doctors have just been shunned? You can't talk about cancer. How dare you?
Right.
And yet I feel like we're on the precipice of something massive changing, where now if we can get all of that pharmaceutical money that's just absolutely blinded and controlled the media and everything else, and start to not persecute the practitioners like you who see actual real results with real people, but heaven forbid you bring up that you treated cancer, you're a charlatan. I'm just curious where your mind's at on that, Ken, because to me it seems like there's an opportunity here for people with your skill set as a healer, that some of this resistance we've been up against, very real, very scary money, deep pocket, you don't dare tangle with these people, but it's changing in front of our eyes. What are your thoughts on that? I'm curious.
Well, that's cool. Thank you for saying that. So first of all, I'll just kind of tell you my mission, because everything is going to be based on our mission and our core values. But my mission is to serve God by serving and saving mankind with the gift of chiropractic. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to serve and save mankind. So I honestly saw the pandemic to be our huge breakthrough. But the unfortunate part was the factions in chiropractic seemed to negate us and take us out of that. I will tell you about my office. In that 18 months, we saw 34,000 people. And 34,000 people, we only had 100 get sick. And of that number, we had nobody hospitalized. We had nobody that died. I had 2 that took 14 days to recover. I had 3 that took 10 days. I had 2 that took 7 days. And everybody else, we had recovered in 4 or 5 days.
Yeah. I'll just pause and say, most of UAC who's practicing or has practices, they exploded during that time.
Yeah.
It was like, and I gotta also just color commentate, Ken, that I always thought that my whole career, what do pediatricians have? A 91, 92% vaccine rate for their practice?
Of course.
Another BS thing. They're compensated by the vaccine companies, but you were never allowed to talk about that. But I couldn't help but notice that the acceptance rate of the COVID vaccine was 50, 40, 50%, 60%, the highest. And I thought, that's a sign. 40% of people are saying time out, whereas before my whole career, it was 8% the only measurement I had was of a pediatric practice. You might get 8% here, the outliers. So it's interesting to hear you echo that it's not just maybe coming over the cresting, but it's been moving towards you and what you're doing for about 3 or 4 years now.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that
somebody like your mom, imagine you go to a doctor and she recovers from cancer and they're so scared they don't even want to know how.
Yeah.
Like, that's how crazy it is.
Yeah.
It's money. It's,
people,
hey, this is how I make my living. This is the lens I have. I don't don't tell me anything other than that.
I mean, again, we know that Ty Bollinger, when he did their video series on cancer, they presented that at that time every cancer patient was minimally worth $1.5 million. So we are having a struggle with this. We do, and we understand too that you and I, all three of us have been in practice. We understand that if you're going to go into the insurance game, which I'm not, but some guys are, that when you bill insurance and you bill like a simplistic evaluation, like a 99213, I think is the code. Typically that's like $90, $100, maybe $125. But if you add one service, then you can double that. And if you add two services, you triple it. So here you got your medical provider that's listening to this conversation in this earphone, but on this earphone, he's got the hospital administrator or the administrator that owns his practice saying, listen, you have to prescribe at least one thing, we double our money. And you prescribe two things, we now triple our money. So rather than that one visit coming in and earning us $125, that one visit just earned us $375. Right. Yep. So there's a motivation in the medical arena to stockpile all this garbage, regardless if it works.
Yep.
Yeah. If it's necessary or not. Right.
Well, Ken,
and let's also say that there are great medical providers. There are great medical doctors in the emergency situation. They're phenomenal. And we just, Scotty and his wife, Kayla, just had their first baby. And we ended up having to go from the midwife to the hospital because she just couldn't progress. And the OB that was on staff was amazing. Yeah. I mean, so there are those great people that are in there, but for the most part, it's hard.
It's been colored by something other than what's in the best interest of the patient. Yeah. Well, Ken, time flies when talking with you. Last question. UAC, what's it meant for you? What's been the benefit to you in your life?
Wow. Well, it certainly has created some of my best friends. I always struggled with having friends in chiropractic because I can't hang around with people that live in scarcity. I struggle with that. But like Malcolm and Kate Red from Australia and Chris and Tina that are in Philadelphia, and just person after person, just amazing people. Excuse me. And I got to experience my birthday when we were in Stockholm, and to have a table full of my closest friends to celebrate my birthday was an amazing thing. Awesome. Yeah. So sorry about that. Should have grabbed some water. But yeah, it's been an amazing experience. It's when you miss because you got other family events that keep you from going, you definitely feel like you miss out. Yeah. So,
well, Ken, we're all better for you being a part of the group, and thanks for just hopping on here and bringing your love. It shines through immediately, man. We appreciate you.
Thanks, dude. Hey, so the other last thing
appreciate you, man.
To share is I finally finished my book. So I have my concussion book. We're looking for our publisher. So
awesome, man.
That's kind of cool news.
Congratulations. That's a huge accomplishment.
The world needs that, man. Don't keep that.
That and becoming a grandfather. That was
great. That's right. Congrats. Yes.
Awesome. Yeah. All right, you guys.
Thanks, Ken.
Thanks.
Have a good one, Doc.
Soon, man.
We'll see you, brother.
Love you guys.